Hey everybody, welcome to the Pensky File, and welcome to my What Did I Play video for the week of February 29th to March 3rd. In this video I'm going to be talking about what I played during that week in board games and video games. So let's start off with our number one game. So one of two board games I played this week was Jaipur. It's either Jaipur or Jaipur, however you pronounce it, or Jaipur maybe, if you want to say. It's a two-player card game, wheeling and dealing in the markets of what it seems to be an Arab marketplace anyway, where you're trading in rare goods and camels and trying to get the most points, beating out the other person. It's a good two-player game. It's pretty strategic. There's a lot of push your luck type stuff where the first person to go for a good gets more points for that good, and the points kind of go down as it goes along, which is an interesting thing. Usually the higher points are at the end of the round, sort of, but it doesn't work that way in Jaipur. So it's a little bit of trying to get cards to create a set of cards in your hands. You get bonus points depending on how many cards you play. The more cards, the better. And then you trade them in for goods, and you get these little discs that you take back and show your family or whatever in the thematic aspect of the game. I like it though. It's a good two-player game. It's fun. It's quick. It's the exact right length of time it needs to be for the for what it is. I think the pacing is really well done. It's strategic, but also kind of luck-based, where you're not, a new person isn't going to feel out of their element playing it. I like it, Jaipur. Continuing from last week's video, the video game that's been at the forefront for me has been XCOM 2. I think I'm getting towards the end. I'm probably at like 65 hours now. Not sure if I like it, right? 65 hours. No, it's really good. It's excellent. It's buggy as hell. It's crashing more towards the end now as I'm getting through it. I don't know if it's the different alien types and like the different confusing things they can do, but the game is definitely crashing more, although that's not really ruining my enjoyment of it. I like it a lot. It's way better than the first game. It's pretty much the same thing except better in all aspects. I'm starting to get into the flow of it, so I'm not losing soldiers. XCOM has this weird thing where the beginning of the game is much more difficult than the end of the game. By the end of the game, your soldiers have all leveled up and you've got abilities, and you I rarely lose a soldier later on, where the early game feels like a struggle to survive, which is a unique aspect of the game, but it's also frustrating the first couple times you're through it. And also the game feels a little bit it's almost too easy later on. The advanced alien types don't really seem that difficult at certain points, and your soldiers are so overpowered that it doesn't really feel like anything. It's just kind of trying to get to the end, and that's the point where I'm at. I think I'm pretty close to the end. I'm doing black site missions with like the super codex or whatever, if anyone knows how close I am to the end. But that's it, XCOM 2. Another video game I've been playing, I played this one on and off for, I've got I think over 300 hours on Steam, and it is Binding of Issac, Afterbirth. Been playing that for probably a year or two now, however long that game has been out. It's really excellent. It's a great time waster. It's a sort of roguelike game where you go through various randomly generated dungeons as a little kid who gets these power-ups on each level, and you can mix and match all these different power-ups and eventually get something different every time through. Game takes probably half hour to beat, 45 minutes maybe if you take a long time, but it's endlessly replayable it seems at this point. I haven't unlocked everything, working on that. Don't know if I ever will. What are you gonna do? The other board game I played this week is Arboretum, two-player Arboretum. Arboretum is a card game, 2 to 4 players, where you're trying to build a little path of trees, and you're basically using different colored cards with numbers 1 through 8 on them to build paths that increase in number. So you can sort of lay them out on the board and you follow 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 2, 6, 8, whatever, as long as the numbers increase. And you score points based on how many of the path you build, so the number of cards, and you also get a bonus if you get all of them are the same color, and there's at least 4. And the other little trick to it is at the end of the game, you're gonna have cards in your hands, so 7 cards. At the end of the game, you only score points on the colors of the cards in your hand that you outnumber your opponent. So if you have yellow on the board and you have the yellow 1 left in your hand at the end of the game and your opponent has the yellow 2, you don't get any points for the yellow cards and your opponent gets the points. So there's a little bit of strategery about whether or not you lay out the cards, what cards you can lay out, what cards you have to hold on to. The hand size is perfect, determining what cards you can get rid of, what cards you don't want to get rid of. Every time you have to discard, it feels like it's a big decision. Arboretum's good. I like it. It's good with 2. I don't really need it with 4 or 3. I think it works fine with 2. My wife likes it a lot more than I do. It feels I feel a little bit uninvested from it in a weird way. It's like I don't feel like I'm ever out of control in Arboretum, and I kind of like to be a little bit unsure of what I'm doing sometimes in some of these games. Arboretum feels, I think it's a game that suits me more than anything, and so I'm playing it doesn't feel that sort of novel in a weird way, although I think the game's gorgeous. I think it's a great design. It's a little tough to explain to new people, but outside of that, it's really excellent. Arboretum, I'd recommend it. And also from last week, the last video game I've been playing is Stardew Valley. I think I'm 10 hours in, starting to get to the point where I don't know how much longer I'm gonna play. The amount of work I have to put into this stupid farm is now, feels like it's a lot. It's funny, when you start the game, you start off very easy and you feel like you have a ton of free time. And after about 5 hours, you start hitting this point in your farm where you're like, Jesus Christ, it takes all day to do, like, water all these crops. You gotta buy sprinklers, it's this whole to-do that you've gotta get through. And it just feels like there's this other aspect. You have to go through mines to get to the bottom of the mine to start getting gold. You have to go through these levels of mines, finding the ladder, and eventually every 5 levels it saves your progress so you can take an elevator down to that level. It feels a little tedious. I don't enjoy it. It feels like I'm just rushing through it. And outside of that, I really like the game. It's like charming as hell. I could do with a little less of the having to meet and greet the villagers because I don't really like that aspect of the game. I'd rather be doing the farming and mining and fixing up my own space. So I haven't been really dealing with the villagers at all, which I think is important because you need to get into their bedrooms for some reason, which is beyond me at this point. But I'm enjoying it. I don't know how much longer I'm gonna go unless I hit a sort of step up very soon where I can start getting sprinklers to like automate the work and start maybe getting chickens and things like that. Maybe I just need to mix it up a little bit because it feels like I'm just spending a lot of time watering plants and that's not very exciting. So that's it. Stardew Valley. I'll probably do a blog video or a podcast video about it soon because I think the game has a lot to talk about, which is interesting. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Those are the games I played. Let's go through them again. Jaipur, XCOM 2, Binding of Issac, Arboretum, and Stardew Valley. Alright, thanks guys. I'll see you next week.